Okay, now that we're inside, what's our next step, Luca?
All right, the next step is to take the upper and do a test fit and make sure that the holes here on the side of the upper. Now, every motorcycle and every upper for any motorcycle will have 2 holes for you to fasten your upper to the frame of the motorcycle. The upper is the biggest piece of bodywork. It endures the most stress, so these are very vital. So we're gonna just slip these on.
Now, do we have to look for anything like wiring inside or radiator?
Most bodywork has little pockets on the inside, like I have right here, to fit your water jug and stuff like that.
So just line those up?
But yeah, you just slide, just goes right over. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Make sure this is all in place up here, roughly.
Roughly, yep.
And then line this up with where we want to be, so our expansion tank is fully in.
This would be in on this side.
Okay, and I'm right about
We're
there
good?
right now.
All right, perfect. So
now, should it touch the frame?
Yes. It's fine with touching the frame.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
And then what about this area?
That's perfect.
Do you need to
This is actually,
much,
this is going to be the last thing we do.
Oh, okay.
Because it's such an important part. I mean, since the lower essentially gets attached to the upper, if this is off by just 1/8 of an inch, it could be just that 1/8 of an inch too much, and you're gonna get front tire rub hard on the brakes.
Yep.
I've seen it happen. Lowers come flying off at like 90 miles an hour. Not good. So
okay. So our test fit
perfect.
is okay.
It works great. If you want to close up here, you can see that the holes here on the frame is where the bodywork's going to go, and it's going to be right on the money. So we're going to drill these holes and make this happen.
So again, on the drilling, we're using step number 5 on this bit. Just a touch more on the drill. Now, these are the components that you've machined and designed for this job.
Most Suzuki's especially have rubber inserts where the stock bodywork will go in. Now, obviously, the factories make that out of plastic, and it's not removable from the side piece. For the racing bodywork application, we had to design some spikes, if you will, that you would use a regular bolt. They're threaded to put them on one side and then thread them in with the bodywork in the middle.
Then on the installation, the spike will go on the inside of the bodywork and the bolt will go through the bodywork, and we'll show you how it looks when it's finished.
So bolt on one side, clip on the other side, or spike. Threading it in. That's why you need bodywork that can flex, so it doesn't break when you make these little mishaps. All right.
And the good thing is this is going to happen to people at home when they're doing this anyway, so it's great for them to see it. All right, so now put our little spike into the rubber receiving hole.
Exactly. Might be a little hard, but there you go. You got it?
Not yet. I'm trying to, there it is. Okay.
All right, and as you can see, when you get bodywork that fits perfect, when you line up all the holes, the work's pretty much already done for you. But I recommend doing it this way because you might have an aftermarket fairing stay, or your frame might be just a little bit tweaked, or whatever the application is. Maybe you have, I don't know, bigger brake reservoirs. I'm not really sure what your application might be, but this way, essentially now you have the upper fastened only here, but it's still pivot. You could still pivot it off of these bolts.
All right, so attach the lower.
Exactly, you got it.
Go ahead and do your side so the camera can see that, and then everybody will know I'm doing the same. So go ahead, put our lip in first, right?
Exactly. Okay, you good over there? In 2 seconds, yep. I'm good on this side.
Okay, so.
Problem that 90% of you will encounter is that, especially the modern bikes, they will have a box or a catalytic converter right in the middle here. Now the aftermarket companies, some keep it and some get rid of it. On this particular application with the Yoshimura, the stock box slightly interferes with the bottom of the lower. And we're talking about maybe an 1/8 of an inch, but since we're out looking for perfect fit, we're gonna take a Dremel and just Dremel it out just a little bit. Now, for certain other brands, they might not keep the stock box. Some do. So it's just an important step, and I'm talking about this box right here. What's interfering with the bodywork now is the bend of the pipe coming out of it. Now, once again, it's not uncommon to do this, depending on what manufacturer exhaust you have. Sometimes they might have headers that hang really low. You might not have enough clearance in the front. Sometimes maybe the piping in the back's a little low, or maybe the exit on the side's a little high. So you usually just be ready to trim about an 1/8 inch of material, you know, depending on what application you have.
So that's why we do the test fit.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, let's do this. You want to do your side first?
Okay, we'll do. Both are in.
Perfect.
Oh.
Oh no, it's good. It's good that it happened. That's why you need bodywork to be flexible, so that when you run around to the other side, you know, when you're by yourself, you don't want the bodywork breaking under the stress of just hanging onto the lower off of one side.
Right.
So let's fasten this up. That's one. And that's two.
Okay. What's our next step?
Our next step is to make sure that everything lines up to the proper mounting holes. Now, for example, do you remember that front tire issue that we were talking about earlier?
Yep.
Now, if you look below,
okay,
it's very close. It's very important that you check your front tire clearance when you mount bodywork. This is why I was stressing to mount the upper first. If you had already fastened everything, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But since we haven't, and although the bodywork's hanging a little low right now, but that's why it's touching, but I want to stress this point. I need you guys to understand that. So that's that.
So we're going to move the bodywork back now, the lower?
Well, actually, if you look at the way it's fastened to the frame,
yeah,
you're going to require.
Oh, there we go.
Pull it back just a little bit on each side.
Now look at the clearance. That's way better.
That's way better.
Yeah.
But that's something important that I wanted to make sure we covered. So as you can see, the bodywork is pre-marked right here to go in that hole right there. So if you were to drill here, it would pull the bodywork back just perfect. So now that we've secured the lower to the frame, which is another vital and important piece, because it's not only the uppers that fasten to the frame, it's also your lowers. Now, some people choose not to fasten the lowers for easier removal and just go off of the fasteners holding them. I don't recommend doing that. The last thing you want is a fairing hitting you in the face or going under your bike. So let's try to be courteous to everybody and make sure it's fastened to your motorcycle.
And some bikes and frames will have just one on one side.
Yeah.
I know, for example, the 0405 Gixxer only has one on the right side, I believe.
Right.
So you may have one or two, but use it.
Yeah. So now, after we've completed the hardest steps, we move on to the easiest step, which is the most important, which is fastening the upper to your fairing stay. What you want to do is, as you can see here, the fairing stay is peeking out a little bit. Well, you're going to end up putting bolts on this fairing stay. So we're going to move the upper according to where these pre-marked markings are. And you just want to make sure that if you were to drill here, it would line up on the fairing stay. We're good on this side, and we are good on this side.
So we can put, again, because you've designed flex in the bodywork, we are able to manipulate the bodywork where the mirrors would normally bolt in.
Exactly.
As a point of reference for everybody at home. We can flex the bodywork just a little bit as needed to get it lined up on where the studs for the mirror will be.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you've actually touched on something extremely important. The whole flexibility aspects of bodywork, they're actually important for fitment on the motorcycle. That is the most important reason why you need it. Because when you have wind resistance at a $180, you don't want it to be flexible. You want it to divert the wind. But you want it to be just flexible enough so you could tweak it and do exactly what we were doing right now and just flex it a little bit like that.